Wait, it was written in 1916, I believe. It was published in 1916.
Right. But Adifa, the fact is that sometimes one poem had undergone a number of revisions, revisions. Like, the poem, not Lenore, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. You know that poem?
Yes.
The Raven. So, yeah, consisting of 18 stanza, okay? 18 stanzas. So, actually, it underwent a number of revisions. Okay. So, actually,
Right.
I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure of this poem, whether or not it had undergone some revisions, or it was the final version. But I believe
Teacher, your voice is echoing.
It's echoing. Okay, is that echoing? Hello?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, uncle, it's echoing.
Hello? Okay, wait. Hello? Hello?
Yes, teacher, it's okay now.
Okay, now it's right. Hello? Hello?
It's still same, I think.
No, it's still echoing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not really sure. Hello? It's better now? Pee-wee?
Yeah, it's better. There's
Oh,
no
it's
echo
better.
anymore.
Okay, it's really good. Okay, now, can we start?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, teacher, the echo is probably because of me. Can I hop off and hop on back again?
Okay, sure. Okay, our first presenter is Adifa.
Yeah, uncle.
Wait, Adifa.
All right. Okay, no. Yeah.
Okay, I hope it's better
Great.
now.
Yes, so can I start?
Yeah.
Okay, so first up, we'll talk about the poet. His name was Robert Frost, Robert Lee Frost. He happens to be an American poet, and his work was initially published in England before it was published in the United States. So we go back to, when he was born and everything. We'll not discuss that in a lot of detail, but we'll still touch it. He was born in 1874 in San Francisco, and he had a really, his life was pretty full of grief and everything. He lost his father at the age of 11, and his family was left with just $8 to start with. Then he lost his mother late in life. His sister was admitted to a mental institution later. So his life was pretty full of grief, which is important for us to know to be able to go ahead with it, right? The second thing I'd like you to know is more specific to the poem. Robert Frost, when he wrote this poem, The Road Not Taken, it was actually written as a joke for his friend, who also happened to be a poet, called Edward Thomas. Okay, so this poem wasn't really intended to have a very serious meaning that we take to it now. It was written as a joke for a friend of his who was also a poet called Edward Thomas. When they were walking together, Thomas happened to be very disturbed. He did not have this idea of which road he should be taking in literal sense, right? They were walking together one day, and they came about a couple of these roads, and Thomas could not decide where he wanted to go. Mary Grace, could you please mute your mic? Okay. So what happened was Thomas could not really decide where to go. So Robert Frost, being the poet he was, he thought about it, and he decided to write a poem on his situation. He ended up with this beautiful piece named The Road Not Taken, right? And what happened was, soon after he wrote it, he read it out in a college. He read it out to a bunch of college students. It was an audience, right? And when he got back from there, he saw that these children, these students, they happened to take the poem very seriously when it was not even intended to be a serious poem. And he comes up and he says that I did not intend it, but students took it pretty seriously. I tried my best, to make it very oblivious, to make sure that I was funny, but it didn't come out that way. And then he came up with this to back up his idea of it. He says, but I know that I am the most serious when I'm joking. Okay, so to back it up, he says, I am the most serious. My writings turn out the best, or they turn out the most serious when I'm trying to be funny about it. So the deal was that this poem, because we're going to analyze it, we are going to take a very symbolic meaning to it. We're going to discuss it as a very serious piece and what it goes about. But actually, just so you know, it was not intended to be a serious piece. It was later, when he read it out to college students, that he figured that it sounded serious, and then he said that he sounds more serious when he's joking. Now, what the poem is about, we'll go about the theme, and then we'll talk about, everything that comes after it, the structure, right? So about the theme, the poem is about this.
Wait, I'm sorry for interrupting. I mean, would you,
yes, teacher, it's okay.
Would you like to read the first stanza first?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, don't forget to read it, okay?
Yeah, but about the theme, I'll have to read the entire poem for the theme.
Yes.
But I'll read it anyway.
Yeah.
Reads, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Okay, so that's about the first stanza. I'm sorry for not reading that. Right. Can I?
Sure. Focus on the theme first.
Right. So about the poem, the theme, the thematic area of the poem, it discusses how choices are inevitable. It actually talks about choices and how we sometimes are forced to make choices and we can't really see what happens with them in the future. So we can't tell. We stand at this place where we are very uncertain and very confused about where it's going, right? So we don't know where we are ending up with whatever path we take, which is what the poem goes about in detail. About the scheme of the poem, we already discussed that the first 5 lines, the paragraphs, as the paragraphs are in proses, in poetry we have stanzas. The rhyme scheme right here is A, B, A, A, B, which you can notice from the last words, right? The last words, last sounds of the poem. Would, stood, and could. All those 3 would be an A, and A. Both and growth come out to be a B and a B. Okay? So the scheme is A, B, A, B. It also has 4 stressed syllables per line, but 2 of them are not stressed as much as the other 2. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, right? So the first 2 syllables are not really stressed upon as much as the second 2 syllables. By syllables, wait, what? Did somebody say something?
No.
Okay.
Ignore. Just ignore it.
By syllables, I mean the unit of pronunciation with 1 vowel sound, right? 1 vowel sound with the surrounding consonants. So we are only focused on the vowel sounds here in terms of when we are talking about syllables, right? Now we'll come to maybe the first stanza and talk about it more, yeah?
I mean, do you want to do line per line analysis, or you just want to sum it up?
Oh, I could do both, if you'd allow me to.
which one? Which one do you prefer? I mean, one.
I'd prefer going line to line.
Yeah, line to line. Okay, go for it, please.
Okay. Also, I'd like to tell you that this style of poetry writing is called a quintain, which means it's a 5-line stanza. Okay? A quintain. Right. So we'll read the poetry, we'll read the first stanza line by line, and I'll try to, maybe the author did not know that much. What's that?
Yes, Bestie. Yeah. Yeah, Adifa knows better.
No.
Yeah, sometimes, but probably if only Robert Frost were alive, probably he would be surprised that the critics performed better. And I didn't really mean that, but the critics came up with a variety of analysis, right? Yes.
Right. So we'll go about every line and we'll try to dissect it. The first line reads, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. So we'll talk about the setting here first. Now, the poem is set in a yellow wood. By a yellow wood, a wood means forest here, right? And yellow necessarily symbolizes autumn. An autumn forest is usually yellow in color because the leaves are turning yellow, right? And then what autumn really symbolizes is autumn is in symbolism of invitation and melancholy at the same time. Autumn is both inviting and melancholic, by which I mean that, towards autumn, it so happens that a lot of trees have fruits on them. And it's still autumn when you pluck them all off, right? So you're not sure if the trees are still fruit-laden or they're not unless you really walk up to them. But this is the idea of the setting, okay? The setting is a yellow wood, which means a forest with decomposing leaves, fallen leaves, leaves that are changing color, nearly dead, right? So 2 roads diverge. When we talk about a divergence in roads, we mean a fork, right? What happens is a fork, by a fork, I mean one road goes straight and then it splits up into 2, right? So it's you can sense it in a very literal manner if you want. Like there are 2 roads and they're diverging and they're passing through a yellow wood, a yellow forest. Yellow because the leaves are turning yellow, right? And then he says, and sorry, I could not travel both. Now, what he's doing in this line again is that he's expressing his idea, his wish to be able to travel both of these roads. So what we see here is basically that he has 2 roads in front of him and he has to walk past any one of them. But he can't really walk on both at the same time, which is very understandable. If you have ever been through a fork, you know that you can't travel 2 roads at the same time and you can only take one. So that's essentially what he's talking about. We'll also discuss the poetic devices that have been used. Here he uses imagery because he's giving you an image, an idea, a visual of what it looks like, the diverging of the 2 roads and the yellow wood. Also, he happens to use another literary device that is called parallelism. Do we know about that? Okay, so parallelism means when you use words, phrases, or sentences that have the same grammatical forms, the same parts of speeches, which is happening here. And sorry, I could not travel both. Right? I could not. And when you go back down there, you see as I could. So the similar grammatical usage is being repeated in the paragraph itself. These are the 2 we are talking about here. There are also many more to come. Maybe they won't be covered in this stanza, and I'd like everybody else to focus on whatever they find in theirs, right? So, and be one traveler, long I stood. Now, he calls himself a lone traveler because he's there alone, he's one, and the roads are 2. So he's standing there at the fork, at the divergence, thinking about what road he should really take. and looked down one as far as I could. So what his best bet is that he looks down one road. He looks to the end, right? He looks down a road and sees as far as he can see. Because the road is not straight and it is a forest, which means, you know, there are a lot of trees, a lot of obstructions that are barring him to see the road further. So he looked down on this road as far as he could. As far as, what do we have there? A comparison, right? As far as. And that comparison right there is called a simile. It's a poetic device, as far as. Simile is a device which is used to compare things with familiar things to let the readers know about it, right? So as far as right there is a simile. We've already discussed 3 devices. We talked about similes, parallelism, and we also talked about imagery already. I looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Now, talking about what undergrowth means, right? Undergrowth is a dense growth of shrubs and other plants, which obviously is something that you would find in a forest. Now, a forest doesn't just have trees. It also has shrubs and little plants and, you know, greenery everywhere. So he says that when I looked down this road, one of these roads, to see which one I would pick, I looked as far as I could where it bent in the undergrowth. So what is happening is that this road is bending at some point, right, in the undergrowth. And that's the last thing he could see. The last thing he sees is a lot of dense foliage, and he does not see where the road goes next. Now, to sum up the entire paragraph, it reads, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. Be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Now, the poet, what he's doing here exactly, if we see the symbolic meaning, because right now we've been talking about more about the literal meaning, right? You know, he's standing in a yellow wood, he sees 2 diverged roads, and he knows he cannot travel both. And he's standing there and waiting and looking at the roads to see how far they go. Now we'll come to more of the symbolic meaning of it. So it is about all the decisions, right? All the decisions that we take in our lives where we have 2 choices or more, right? So whenever you have 2 choices, for example, I could be a doctor or I could be an engineer, right? Both the roads, they're both roads, they're both choices, they lead me to different destinations. But I can't really be sure that I'll get what I want from both of these roads, right? I can't just work towards being a doctor, I can just work towards being an engineer. I never know what the future has in store for me. So the most I can do is pick a college, right? And it goes from there. That's as far as I can see it right now. That's what it is about. He's talking about making choices, and he's really thinking about where he should go, and he's looking as far as he can. He's trying to see what would be the best place for him to go. And that would be about it.
Okay.
Oh my God, that is really awesome.
Flawless, yeah, it's a flawless analysis.
Yeah. Oh my God.
There's nothing I have nothing to say about it. Really flawless.
Thank you.
Yeah, impeccable. Wow, amazing. I mean, were you my students, I think that you will always end up with mark A.
Oh, you're really sweet.
Yeah, it's, I mean, really cool. Right. So,
Thank you. Our second presentation.
Let's talk about this one. Diverge first.
Oh, sure.
The words. So diverge means separated and took a different directions. Can you really imagine 2 roads diverge in a yellow wood? Can you imagine it?
We see that in the picture you put out there, teacher.
Right. Yeah, the picture. Yeah, but we cannot see that, right? So then, the second one, yellow wood. So yellow wood is a forest with decomposing leaves, right? Drying. Probably it's in autumn, in fall. Yeah, for sure, right? So, and
Yes,
sorry,
teacher.
I could not travel both. So once the poet was walking down a road, right? Then there was a diversion. Diversion or diversion?
Diversion.
Oh, diversion. Okay, diversion. There were two different paths. Is that? Okay, and he had to choose one out of two. So the poet says that as he was one person, he could travel on only one road. He had to choose one out of these roads, right? Yellow wood means a forest with leaves which are wearing out and they have turned yellow in color. The season of fall, of autumn. So it represents a world which is full of people, where people have been living for many years. Okay, so they represent people who are older than the poet. Probably the poet kept standing there and look at the path very carefully, rigorously, as far as he could see it. Before taking the path, he wanted to know now it was it suitable for him or not, or not. So he was able to see the path till from where it curved, after which it was covered with trees and was hidden. So it happens in our life also. When we have choices, we have alternative. Okay, we have choices, we have alternatives, but we have to choose only one out of them. We take time to think about the pros and cons, right? Advantages and disadvantages, whether it's suitable for us or not, and only then. So we take a decision on what path we should choose. So I think that it's what it is. Probably what is really interesting about this poem, Arifa. We can count on our case probably. You can go for either the Harvard School of Health or the Cambridge School of Language. Okay, but you need to sacrifice. If you choose the Harvard School of Health, you need to sacrifice the Cambridge School of Language. So which one? So you need to come up with your decision. You need to sleep on it, right? It takes some time for you. Yeah, so actually we can relate it to our own case, our own personal case, our own personal problem. That's what makes me really love this poem, and I'm really digging it. You know? Yeah, sure. So what do you think, Adifa?
About what, teacher?
I mean, did this poem, okay, touch something, okay, or some part of your life?
Right, it does. It does.
Yeah,
It's not
but
bad.
really sometimes, to be honest, when I camped, or when I went more deeply into the analysis, for sure, we can really, I mean, this poem can really
It's a very beautiful portrayal of where you stand when you're making
but
this point.
sometimes it could, I mean, it could bring us to tears. It depends on our personal case. It depends on
Right.
our experience, right? Sometimes that,
How far we've come with the choices.
I chose the wrong, I chose the wrong direction, and this is something that I need to face. Okay.
All right.
So actually, it depends on the reader, right? So we call it
Yes,
reader
teacher.
response. Yeah, it depends on, and also your experience, right? But if you're like a little girl child, I think you will only analyze this poem literally. Oh yeah, the Roads Diverge. Now I'm getting into a yellow wood. So I see two diverged roads there. So which one I should travel? I cannot travel both. That's a little girl child's analysis, right? But Adifa is not a little girl child, right? Adifa is a great
Yes.
poet. Yes.
No.
So who's the second? I know you are kind of nervous. I mean, who is the
Mary.
second? Yeah.
Mary.
So that's why, because this is kind of like an advanced lecture. So I only so that I mean that's the reason I need a subscriber on the chat, because people will comment on you, probably Mary Grace, and you will be kind of afraid on they will distract you. So that's why I come up with that one. Yeah, because it's kind of hard, and also
I'm getting nervous.
Oh my God.
Recollect.
It's okay, Mary. It's okay. Calm down.
Yeah, Mary Grace.
I'm right here for you.
Because Mama Diva. Oh.
Mama Diva.
Yeah, no,
There's a lot of things
no one
about
giving
this
you a mark.
poem.
Okay.
No one. Yeah. Okay.
I
No one
think
will
I
fail
got
this
letter
course.
C.
Yeah.
But
no one
nobody's
will fail
judging
this
you
course.
here.
Yeah, sure. No one will fail because again,
Okay,
everyone
but
will come
but
up
of
again
course
will
that's
end
why
up
we are
with
here.
mark 8.
We're
Right.
training.
Sure. Right. So of course, so we
No one's going to kill you.
but refund kill.
No way.
Okay, no way. So now stanza 2.
Okay, sir.
Oh, Mary Grace. Oh, no. I'm not supposed to do that. Okay.
Okay.
This one. Okay.
Okay, so I will read it first, or I will read it by lines, sir.
Okay. We will help you. Don't worry.
I will. Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
So then took the other as just a spare. Okay, then took the other as just a spare, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. There was for that the passings here had worn them really about the same. So
No,
I will
don't
just
think
explain.
wait. I mean, would you like to repeat that? Reread it?
Okay.
Do not rush.
Okay,
the
sir.
Poem. Enjoy it. Okay? Enjoy it. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Excuse me, teacher. A second.
Yeah, enjoy it. Okay? Don't rush.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yeah.
Teacher, the first line, then took the other just as fair. I think the first as should not be there.
This one, right?
The first
Okay.
one, then took the other just as fair.
Okay, so I need to explain now.
Yeah.
I will try. Okay. So then took the other as just a spear. I think the narrator said, or the speaker says that is trying to say that he takes the other path. He takes the other path after the first road. Takes the other path, the other road, and he thinks that this road is just it's just a nice, a quite good, or it's just a spare. So I think, and because he needs to decide
Okay.
which the road he wants to go.
What does fair mean?
Yes, sir.
I mean, what does fair mean?
Fair means or good.
Yeah, then took the
Yes,
other
sir.
as just
Fair
as
is
fair.
good,
What does that
or
mean? So, I mean, the first road is just as good as the other one. You know what I mean? So it's just as good as the other one. So that's what it's meant by fair in this poem. Okay, so fair
yes,
is
sir.
just
Yes,
as
sir.
good as the other one. Okay? And the second, the second line?
Yes, because the previous is just like an old or something. There's
Yeah, then took
like
the
the
other.
yellow.
Then took the other as just as fair. So the poet kept on looking at one path, right? For a long time to check if it is the right path for him or not. And then he decided and starting walking on another path because he felt that both paths were equally good. Okay, were equally good. So the first one is just as good as the second one. So it's fair. So it's just as fair. Yeah. Sometimes you can say the fair. It must deal with justice. No.
Because it's comparing. It's comparing the previous one.
Yeah. Right. So then took the other. So meaning that the poet kept on looking at one path and tried to compare, right? And trying to compare
Yes.
probably the pros and cons, but he just found the first one was just as fair as the second one. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So and having perhaps
Yes, and having perhaps the better claim. So is trying to decide to if it needs to get better claim. Okay, so
Yeah,
it's trying
better
to
option. Yeah, better
yes.
option, right? Better options.
Yes. Mm.
Better options. Yeah, so having perhaps the better option, the better claim.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. You know, analyzing a poem, probably is considered an advance.
Yes, because it's at first
Yeah,
you need to see the structure. Yes, the structure
also
and
the
of course
words.
the main.
Yeah.
Yes, and the
What
meaning.
is so
So-
challenging and also so spooky about analyzing poems is that probably the words that they used, right? The poets use, okay? The poets use. I mean, most of the poets use. They use some kind of peculiar words. You can't even find it in any dictionary, but literary dictionary. So they have their own spatial dictionary. Okay, literary term. Okay, go on. Because
Okay, so because it was grassy and wanted wear. Because, so he thinks when you see that road,
Grassy
yes
first,
sir.
grassy,
When you see
grassy.
that road, it's grassy because there's a lot of grass there, and wanted wear. It's
Do you
just
think
like
grassy? I mean, really means grassy.
there's a lot of grass.
Yeah.
Yes.
What happened if you see a land, okay, covered in a lot of grass? There's a lot of grass
It's not easy
on
to
the
go.
road.
No,
What is the
it's not.
analysis? Please,
That's
please,
not.
please.
That's not easy to go.
No,
Grassy.
I
It
mean,
means that
just imagine. Yeah.
if
Just
there's a lot
imagine.
of grass.
Can I?
Mm.
No,
So
I'm very great
Okay.
first. Hold back a little.
No, just the grassy part.
Right.
Okay.
So
So
grassy,
it,
grassy.
oh my God.
Yeah,
Grassy.
grassy and wanted wear. When it is grassy,
Wanted wear.
okay, because it was.
Grassy
Oh, I mean,
and wanted
what does
wear.
it in this line refer to? One road, right? One road and
Yes.
another. One
Yes.
road. So one road in these two, out of these two, not roads actually. Yeah, roads, paths. Okay, perhaps in these two paths, was grassy.
It is
and
just like sir. It is just like a virginized. What do you mean by? Yes, it's just
Yes.
like a virginized
So
road.
If a path, you
Virginized.
know, if a path is grassy and wanted wear, it means that it's not
Correct.
walked over by many people. Do you know what I mean? It was not over by many people, so it is unused.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
It is
unused.
unused. And wanted wear, it is similar actually, has not been used. So grass growing there, bushes, okay, something like that.
Because it's very new. It's very new,
Wanted
and
wear.
yes, it's very new. It's just
Right.
like a virginized road, and it needs to. Yes, it wasn't used much on that particular area. I think.
Okay, sure. So then, go on. I will help you with the analysis if you...
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you,
No?
sir. Oh my God. Okay.
Don't worry.
Though as per that the passing chair, it means
Though as
that
for. Though as for
okay.
them,
Though as for
passing there...
though as for that the passing, it means